Hello, I'm Jung Hua. Today, let's explore the topic, finding 4 keys to avoid getting lost in the forest of human relationships. Like travelers wandering through a forest called human relationships, we all find ourselves in the chapter of conflict, much like a cave. Each of us moves toward our own destination, but sometimes we run into tangled and intertwined waters. Especially in the workplace, where we spend even more time than at home, uncomfortable relationships become a main reason for our exhaustion. Over the years, as I have passed through countless forests of human relationships, I have deeply pondered what the root of conflict is and how it can be resolved. We often believe that humans are rational beings, but in reality, we are emotional creatures whose feelings come before reason. That's why, more than the content of the message I want to convey, the way that message is received emotionally by the other person determines how conflict situations unfold. A single, seemingly insignificant word can escalate into a big argument or lead to a warm reconciliation. I have discovered 4 essential pieces of wisdom needed to avoid getting lost in the forest of human relationships. These are listening, asking questions, building rapport, and apologizing. The first piece of wisdom is listening. We live our lives surrounded by countless conversations every day. However, not all of these conversations lead to genuine communication. Most people tend to prepare their next response before the other person has even finished speaking, or they listen with their minds already made up. This tendency becomes even stronger in conflict situations where we listen to find points to argue against. For effective listening, you need the 3F approach: fact, feel, and focused listening. This means you should listen for the facts, the emotions, and the intentions behind what is being said. True listening means making eye contact, nodding in empathy, and sometimes asking appropriate questions to help deepen your understanding. The biggest obstacle to attentive listening is the smartphone. You should put it on silent and out of sight during conversations. The second key to wisdom is asking questions. Questions are a powerful tool that go beyond simply expressing curiosity. They help develop relationships, solve problems, and foster deeper understanding. Many conflicts begin because we don't know why the other person is acting a certain way. Not knowing the reason, we end up making our own judgments and creating stories in our heads, which leads to conflict. The easiest way to prevent this is by asking questions. However, what's important here is to ask neutral questions, not negative ones. For example, instead of criticizing by asking, "Is this the best you can do?" with a negative judgment of the other person's actions, you should exclude subjective judgments and ask, "What does it mean that you did it this way?" That is the kind of question you should ask. Conflicts arise because we speak and make assumptions based on our own thoughts instead of looking at the facts. Asking about what you don't know is the starting point of conflict resolution communication. The third wisdom is building rapport. In conflict situations where conversation has broken down, a catalyst is needed to reconnect. The rapport building conversation method consists of 4 steps. First, empathize with the other person's feelings. You need to make an effort to read the other person's emotions. Second, provide the other person with an opportunity to participate in the conversation and express their own thoughts. Third, try to guess the reasons that have made the relationship between you and the other person difficult and use questions as a catalyst to address them. Fourth, after opening up the conversation, you should thoroughly reflect on the reasons why the relationship between you and the other person has become strained from your own perspective and make an effort to find concrete solutions together to improve the relationship. The fourth wisdom is apology. An apology is not simply about admitting defeat. On the contrary, a sincere apology is the key to opening the door to a relationship, and it is the person who apologizes who first experiences the comfort and improvement in the relationship that comes from apologizing. It is best to choose the right time, not too late, but also not when emotions are running high. The starting point of a true apology is to clearly recognize what you did wrong and to honestly admit it. Then you should humbly communicate what you have realized to the other person and ask for their forgiveness. An apology is not a sign of incompetence, but rather a mature expression of strong responsibility to acknowledge and correct your mistakes. The courage not to fear apologizing, this is the key communication method for managing conflicts and smoothing relationships. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you.